Hello ladies, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, girl, I acknowledge you. So over on this channel we talk about personal finance, adulting, and just living life meaningfully. In the previous video we chatted about how exactly investing in shares works, and in today's video we're going to be discussing when exactly is it appropriate to start investing in shares. We are going to be covering the benefits of investing in shares. We're going to be covering some key concepts that are important for us to understand before we start investing in shares. And then I'm also going to give some points that can help you to make the decision about when is the right time for you personally. Let's get into it. In the day and age that we live in, investing in shares has become really affordable. If you have as little as 500 Rand and sometimes even 100 Rand to spare every month, you can start investing in shares. And unlike some of the other investment options like investing in property or some of the other alternative investments, investing in shares has little to no barriers of entry. It is honestly one of the most easily accessible forms of investments to the everyday person. Investing in shares also allows you to own pieces of really amazing companies. Sometimes we look at companies and we see the growth potential that they have. Investing in shares gives you a chance to be part of those companies and to benefit in the growth potential which a lot of those companies have. And lastly, and I would actually argue most importantly, investing in shares gives you and I as the everyday South African a chance to build real and reliable long-term wealth. Now let's chat about some of the concepts that are important to understand when you are investing in shares. Shares are by nature a very risky investment asset. And although the stock market does generally tend to show good and reliable growth and returns over the long term, often better than other asset classes, individual share prices for individual companies fluctuate pretty significantly, sometimes on an hourly, daily, weekly, and monthly basis. What this means for you as an investor is that you could buy a share today and its share price could literally halve the next day, triple a couple of weeks later, and then go back to the same value which you bought it at. That is what risk means. It means that there is a lot of constant fluctuations in the actual shares that you buy. There is, however, a way to decrease the amount of risk that you take on when you invest in shares, and that is through diversification. In finance, we say that diversification is the process of allocating your money to a diverse range of assets, and in this case, a diverse range of shares. Let's say, for example, you had 10,000 Rand to invest, and you decided to invest all of that money into Uber. This investment is not diversified. And so if anything were to go wrong at Uber, or if the share price was to tank for any reason whatsoever, you're basically screwed. But let's say now, of the 10,000 Rand that you have to invest, you decided to put 5,000 Rand into Uber and 5,000 Rand into Lyft. Now we say that you have diversified your share investment portfolio between companies. And so if anything were to go wrong at Uber, you still have the possibility of your other share investment at Lyft either remaining constant or possibly even improving, and so carrying your portfolio. However, Uber and Lyft are both US-based technology companies that operate in the exact same industry. And so you're still vulnerable to actual shocks that might happen within the technology industry or the transportation industry itself. What if then, of the 10,000 Rand that you had to invest, you put 2,000 Rand towards Uber, a US-based tech firm. You put 2,000 Rand in Capitec, a South African-based financial services firm. You put 2,000 Rand at Woolworths, a South African retailer. You put 2,000 Rand in Anglo America, a British mining company. And you put 2,000 Rand in Toyota, a Japanese automotive and truck manufacturing company. Now you have diversified your investments across companies, across industries, and across geographies. And so if one industry were to perform badly, you can rely on the other industries to still carry your portfolio. Or alternatively, if your US-based investments were to start performing poorly, you at least still have the possibility of your Asian, your African, and your European investments still performing well. And so you see that the more variety of different companies you have within your share investment portfolio, the more diversified your investments, and thus the lower your risk. It is still okay to invest in one specific share, but you will need to evaluate your own financial situation, and you will need to carefully think about whether or not you have the financial and the emotional capacity to stomach that level of risk. You need to ask yourself, if I put all of my eggs into one basket by investing in this one company, will I be okay when the shares of that company fluctuate? So when exactly is the right time for you to start investing in shares? You need to ask yourself a couple of questions. One, what is your personal investment philosophy? Are you a short-term investor, or are you here for the long term? There are people who buy shares and hold them for very short periods of time and typically sell them within hours, days, or weeks of buying them. We don't typically refer to this as investing. This is more like day trading. Although it is possible to make a lot of money doing this, however, because of the daily and hourly fluctuations of share prices, this method of trading shares is extremely risky and is not for everyone. And then there are people who invest for the long term. These people buy shares today and hold them for years or even decades, allow them to realize their true intrinsic value, and then sell those shares. And we refer to this as long-term investing. What exactly is your investment philosophy? Are you looking to trade shares on a day-to-day basis, or are you looking to build real, sustainable, long-term wealth for yourself and for your family? The second question to ask for yourself is, what is your investment goal, and how quickly do you need this money? Are you perhaps saving for your wedding, which is going to happen in the next 12 months, and you can't afford to lose any of that money within the next 12 months? Perhaps investing in shares is not the right option for that type of goal. Instead, are you saving for your child's education, and you know that umntwana wakho is only going to go to university within the next 10 to 15 years? Or are you building long-term wealth for yourself, your spouse, and your children? Or perhaps are you trying to supplement your retirement savings, and you know you're only going to retire in 20 years' time? These are more long-term goals that are better suited to share investments. The third question to ask for yourself is, what exactly is your risk appetite? Do you have the financial means to tolerate the risk that comes with investing in shares, especially in the short term? So for example, if next week you got into an emergency that required 10,000 Rand out of you, do you have an emergency fund that you can dip into to take that 10,000 Rand? Or would you be forced into a situation where you have to sell off all of your shares? And what if during the time where you are forced to sell your shares are performing pretty poorly? What will you do then? If you are a type of person who does not have any other means to cover emergencies and would have to be forced into a situation where you sell your shares, your risk appetite is pretty low. Your risk appetite is determined by your personality and your emotions, but more importantly, it's actually determined by your finances. Does your current financial situation allow you to take risk with money? The fourth thing to ask yourself is, where are you on your financial journey? A lot of financial experts actually advise that before you start investing in shares, first build up an emergency fund. This can be a 3 to 9 month emergency fund depending on how volatile your personal income is. So for example, if you're a person who is in a very steady job, a long-term contract, you can get away with building a shorter term emergency fund, like a 3-month emergency fund. But if you are a person who's a freelancer and where work tends to be a little bit more sparse and scarce for you, you would probably need a much longer emergency fund, closer to 6, 9, or even 12 months long. It is better for you to build an emergency fund and not make your actual share investments or your share portfolio your emergency fund. Financial experts also recommend that it is better to pay off a lot of your high interest debt if you have any. So if, for example, you have a personal loan where you are paying 36% per year on interest, or you have a clothing account where you're paying 22% per year on interest, and yet your share investment is only providing you with a 15% return per year, this means that you are paying more in interest charges on your debt than you are earning in returns from your investments. And so essentially you're moving backwards, and the net value of your assets is actually going in the opposite direction. Thus, it is often better to pay off your high interest debt before you start investing in shares. Does this mean you have to pay all of your debt before you start investing in shares? Absolutely not. However, it is often advised to pay off some of your higher interest debt, like personal loans, credit cards, and clothing accounts. If your debt, for example, is attached to an asset like your mortgage or your car, and the interest on that debt is relatively quite low, you don't have to pay off your debt before you start investing in shares. But that's a decision for you to make for yourself. There are many benefits to investing in shares. And although there tends to be a lot of short-term volatility, with the use of diversification and having a long-term view with your share investments, we are truly able to decrease the amount of risk that we take on and build good quality, sustainable, long-term wealth for ourselves and our families. I do want to reiterate again that it is okay to do short-term trading, and it is okay to buy one share. But please understand that this is a risky way of doing this, and it is not for everyone. Now that you have some tools that can help you decide when is a good time for you personally to start investing in shares, in the next video, I'm going to be chatting about where exactly we can buy these shares, particularly in a South African context. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. It really supports this channel. And also, if you have any particular question concerning this topic or any of the other related videos I've done around these types of topics, please leave them in the comment section. I'd really love to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Bye.